Susruth, co-founder and CEO of Garden Finance. Welcome.
Hey, glad to be here.
Let's begin with, first of all, I first learned about Garden Finance when I spoke with Orkun at Citria. He was telling me about some of the projects that were part of the Origins program, and one of the projects is Garden Finance, and so that's what first led me to learn about you guys and what you are up to. And I'm always very interested in projects that are focused in the Bitcoin ecosystem because I think we need more of them. And so, but maybe we can start with kind of a little bit about you, how you got into crypto, and what led you to building Garden Finance.
Yeah. So actually, when I was doing my bachelor's, I was like very interested in cybersecurity. So I was like doing this internship after my second year of engineering in a cybersecurity firm, and like my final project at the internship was to figure out how to use blockchain to improve security. So, and this was when like Ethereum was trading at $20, and I still thought that it was too expensive. And then just like ever since it kind of proved me wrong. But yeah, like I mean, when I was like researching about blockchain for my final project at my internship, I just like got like really interested in like the whole technology, like what it stands for and everything like that. So I slowly like got into Ethereum. I started my own like Ethereum miner, which I just like built in my like dorm room. We used like our like free electricity and actually like mine stuff back in the day. Uh, and then like in 2017, actually like joined as one of the first engineers at REN protocol. It was called database back then. The idea was like we'll build like Firebase for blockchain. That was the pitch that we are like selling to people. But the thing was, like, we actually built everything. Like in 8 months, we had everything like working product. Like we launched it, but there were no developers. So it was like too early for like any developers to actually exist in the space. So like all the dev tools that we built kind of were not like super useful. But during that time, we actually had like a strong team of five who had like really understood like what blockchain means and how to build on blockchain. So we decided that instead of building dev tools, let's actually build products. And we actually like started like working on a dark pool for like the whole like DeFi space. The idea was like we will actually build like a completely decentralized dark pool, which is completely trustless, completely like verifiable, completely secure, using an SMBC protocol. So the idea was like everyone can submit their orders, like even large orders. No one will be able to like look at the order book, and like if an order match happens, then you would actually settle peer to peer. So we actually built like our whole like order matching engine on top of an SMPC system, and the settlement was happening using this thing called atomic swaps. So that was our first protocol. It was called Republic Protocol, and we actually like raised capital for it. We did like an ICO, and like we had like $40 million in funds raised for that project, and that eventually, so we built like a dark pool. It was working again, fully functional, but we couldn't get like users to use it because there was no liquidity in the DeFi space. Uniswap was like still a very small project. No one was using Uniswap at this point, so no one believed that like Dexes can do anything. This was when like Ether Delta was like the only Dex, which was like a limit order book literally on Ethereum, super expensive, but like that was the only Dex back then. AMs were like still like a very new thing. So we try to actually get it to like market. We try to like talk to like a lot of trading desks like Amber and all these guys back then. But like whatever we did, it was like super hard to actually get people to use it. So then our like thinking actually went to saying like what is like where is liquidity, right? Like where is liquidity in this world? Then we thought like liquidity is in Bitcoin because like Bitcoin has let's say like 80% of the or 80% or more of all the TVL back then, and even now, right? It's like the most liquid chain. So we thought like how can we bring Bitcoin to our system? Because initially it was actually built mainly for like the EVM chains. So we were like trying to figure out like how do we actually do it for Bitcoin. So then we actually like started like doing research and like figured out like the BTC side of things where we actually created like one of the first like trustless Bitcoin wrappers called REN BTC. So like this is when like we actually rebranded from Republic Protocol to REN. So and like then we launched REN. So then we actually like like built the first cross-chain protocol. We actually had like this like very big custodian like SMBC network, one of the biggest in the world, like ever deployed, using like our own like algorithms back then, and then we actually like migrated to Frost when it actually got like live, and like when we actually like vetted its like security and stuff. So, and on this system, we actually had like more than $1.5 billion like TVL, which was crazy
Wow.
back then because like we were just like five engineers, like literally 1 year out of our like university, and we had like this like $1.5 billion literally sitting there, and like it is on our like system that we wrote, right? Like it was crazy. And it was like, and there was almost like $18 billion in like volume like being bridged between like BTC and like Ethereum, and like still the experience was not like super smooth. It was like decently cluttered, and like our SMPC network, which was like it is almost a blockchain, right? Like it has like more moving parts than a blockchain because it is purely cross-chain in nature. And I think that's also the main reason why a lot of cross-chain protocols get hacked, right? Because like there are like so many moving parts, and there are like so many blockchains that you interact with, and like if something happens like wrong on one chain, like all your systems are like kind of like corrupted, and like you lose. So it was like super hard for us to like keep it safe, and like we had like this like extremely big code base that is our like SMBC network, and we had an equally big code base which actually literally monitored our like actual blockchain, which was like literally looking at like every single log that is coming out, like every single transaction that is going, like doing like analysis on is it malicious, is it like unexpected. If it is unexpected, it used to like give us like an alert to our like phones like midnight, all the stuff. So from the beginning, we actually our whole team had this like really like security first mindset, where we really wanted to ensure that like if people are using our system, they cannot lose $1 of money when they are using our system, because like at the end of the day, we are building finance, right? We can't be like like held to like any less standard than
Mhm.
losing nothing. So we were like it was a crazy time because it was like very hectic, because of all the funds, because of the size of the magnitude of funds, and like the early stage of like all of our team, like because we were only like 2 years experienced, we were like still learning like a lot. We were trying to just like build extremely robust systems, but we were still early in our like careers.
Yeah.
So that's like where my career started, and I gradually became like the lead engineer at like REN. And then like one of like when we were like doing all this stuff, like one other thing that was like interesting was happening. So we actually had this like uh, in our company, we used to like do these hackathons once every quarter, where we actually like try to build something completely new that is not our like business, just to see like like what we can do. And in one of those hackathons, we actually built an MEV liquidation bot, which was like something that was just like very early. This was back in 2018, 19. So this was when like Compound was like launched, and like Aave was like ETH back then, and all the liquidation market was like extremely small. So we kind of thought that like liquidations are like interesting because like there are texts like Uniswap that are like very liquid, and you have liquidations happening here and that are inefficient. So there is like a lot of value to be captured by actually like writing very extremely efficient automated bots that could actually liquidate and actually make money. So we actually built like some sample bots, and then we actually started liquidating like positions on Compound, and like mostly Compound back then. And then once we actually were like good at it, like we thought that there might be something here. There might be like a vertical that we could actually launch across like this MEV kind of like space. So we got more and more into it. I kind of like moved from REN protocol to like this like MEV project that we started, and we continued on that line where we actually like built a protocol called Keep It DAO back then, which eventually was called
I
like
remember
Group.
Keeper. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was like our project. Like, I mean, this was like before Flashbots, right? Like, it was like almost around the same time as like when Flashbots got launched. So we were like kind of taking a different approach to MEV back then. We were like trying to figure out how to do MEV by
Mhm.
actually creating this like meta layer between like users and like exchanges, where we actually captured all the MEV and actually refunded 75% back to our users. So that was like our like system. Like we actually said that like MEV will be extracted by someone. So we'll ensure that like we are the people who will extract it, and will actually give you a cashback whenever you do a trade on us. It was like super popular back then. We actually like built like $100 million treasury, and within like 8 months, which was crazy. And again, right, like this was like the early days of MEV, so it was like very small number of like people who were actually participating in it.
Yeah.
So this was like almost like 2 years, like we were like building it, like enhancing it and improving it. We launched like a few very interesting products called the Hiding Game for like text trading, and we also quickly released a product for like lending, where you could actually lend through us, and like we will actually protect you from liquidations. Instead of like paying 5% liquidation cost to compound, you would only be paying 0.5% to us. So even that system got like 100 million TPL within like few weeks because we were like decently popular back then.
Wow.
So this was all going good. In parallel, on the run side of things, our co-founders actually decided to like move on and like move to like working on like a biotech based startup. So me and Jazz, who's like my co-founder even now, we actually took over REN. So we decided that like we'll like spend like all our resources on REN and actually make it into like a the next generation like interoperability protocol. So we
That's
actually like
cool.
started work. Yeah, thanks. It's like a
No,
very long disc.
no,
Yeah,
you are, I mean, your history is pretty storied. You were like
yeah,
you're a pre-DeFi OG. I mean, it sounds like you got into DeFi before DeFi summer. So
yeah.
that's pretty amazing. Um, and I remember all these projects, and these projects are still around, Keeper, etc. Um, you your story of how TVL was growing. It reminds me of a story Jeff Bezos from Amazon shared when they first started Amazon. They had a bell, and so every time someone would order a book, the bell would ring, and then it would ring, and then it got to a point where it rang all the time, and so they had to shut it off. And it sounds like you guys watched the TVL numbers go up, and then it just kept going up, and you're like, oh my god, what are we doing? What's happening? Which is a great problem to have.
Exactly. I think it was like almost like identical, right? Like, I mean, that literally happened twice. Like once, like during our rent days, where we actually had this like alert bot. Initially, our alerts were actually happening whenever like someone traded on our system, and it was literally like calling us like 10 times a night. So at some point, we were like, I mean, we have to like put better metrics. We can't just like wake up whenever like a swap happens, and it just like keeps changing.
That's so
It's
exciting,
crazy. I
though.
mean, yeah, it's like I think I wouldn't trade it for anything in life. I think it was like an extremely exciting time to be alive. I think it was like before DeFi, so it was like so much like like it was like literally like a very small number of like very deep projects that were like working on like really
Yeah,
cool solutions. So I was like, yeah, like super excited and like
that
happy
is so
about like
cool.
everything we did.
Well, let's jump to garden finance. Maybe we
Yeah.
start with the name. What is like what made you guys come up with the name garden?
So it's actually kind of like draws like some parallels from my KeeperDAO experience. So during like our early days in like KeeperDAO, we actually I think someone actually like wrote this paper called the Dark Forest. That Ethereum is a dark forest, and like everyone is
Mm,
out there to get you. So the idea was that like like there is like so many like bots that are running in the system. Everyone is trying to like steal money from you, kind of like whole perspective. And there is this other concept that is also called like walled garden. So the idea is that this is like where you are actually very protected and you are actually like safe, and you can be like no one is actually going to steal from you, and like you're safe. So garden is kind of like derived from that idea of like like a place where you can actually feel extremely safe like doing your trades. And like we want to like ensure that like no MPP is extracted from you, no one like malicious can actually steal money from you when you are in like using our garden. So that's kind of like where it kind of derived its name.
that's cool. Um, Now tell us about garden finance. Like, what problem are you guys built the garden finance. What problems are you guys focused on solving?
So again, the philosophy behind garden finance kind of like draws like a lot of parallels from like international finance as well. So the idea is that right, like when like the global economy got like fully opened back in 90s, like when like people actually like started like when globalization happened, right? When people decided that like every country is like really good at something, and like not every country has to do something, which is kind of like changing now. But like back in 90s, it was like the thing, right? Like we believed that like Germany is like really good at making cars, US is like very good at like creating like innovative startups, China is very good at like manufacturing, like Japan is very good at like creating like extremely high quality appliances. So back then like we were thinking that like all these like countries can do like what they are like really good at, and like they can just like ship things across to other people, so that like every single human being can actually like experience the best the world has to offer. instead of trying to just like force people to use something that is bad, that is like locally made, we were like really open and saying that, like we'll actually use something that is good from each country and actually like, like live like a better life. So we kind of like believe that that is the same thing in blockchains as well. Like we believe that like multiple blockchains will always exist. Like Bitcoin will exist, Ethereum will exist, like Solana will exist, like a few other like blockchains will exist. Like maybe some blockchains will die, maybe new blockchains will come, and like this whole space will continuously like move on. But like we would not want to live in a world where there is like only two blockchains, right? Because you are kind of like limited on like what you can do, because like innovation stalls when like the competition decreases. So we want to make sure that like the competition exists and like multiple choices are always present for people. But like with multiple choices there are like a lot of issues, right? Like there is liquidity fragmentation. Maybe like, you have like $100 here, $50 there, but you can't do like a $125 transfer because like they are in different blockchains and all that stuff. So we believe that like if we want to like make this like world of like multiple blockchains existing side by side like happily possible, we need like extremely like strong rails between all these blockchains to actually ensure that movement of like funds across these chains is like as smooth as possible, as cheap as possible, and as fast as possible. So that is like the problem statement that we really want to solve at Garden. We want to make sure that like every single blockchain that exists is like connected to every other blockchain, and like value transfer happens like without like users like notice.
It's an ambitious problem to solve, and it's a big one. I mean, the level of liquidity fragmentation, especially in the EVM space with all the rollups, is
Yeah.
a really big problem. How does Bitcoin, how does that play a role in garden finance?
So almost like all my career, like since like last 8 years, I have been working on Bitcoin. Like so, we were like literally start working on Bitcoin back in 2017. Where like because like REN, like Bitcoin was like the most predominant asset that we actually had, and REN BTC was one of the biggest assets we actually had in Kibada as well. So it was something that we were like working on like for almost 8 years now. So we kind of and we do still believe that, like if I have to like literally hitch my wagon to like one single blockchain in this whole world, it would be Bitcoin, right? Because like it has existed for so long, and it is like secure, like it is like tested by like so many people for so many years, like that it is 100% safe. Similar to like cryptography, right? Like you believe that like a hash algorithm is safe only after 5 years or like 7 years of it actually existing and being safe. Similar to that in blockchain, Bitcoin existed for 10 years and there is nothing that like anyone can take away from it. So we do believe that like Bitcoin would continue to play like fundamental role in like the future of like DeFi as a whole. So that's the reason we wanted to like make sure that like all the things that we build, like Bitcoin has access to. Like Bitcoin is like literally center, like front end center in our vision. We want to make sure that like whatever we are building, someone who has Bitcoin will be able to.
Got it. Now, practically as a user, how does that play into, if I'm a user of garden finance, like maybe walk through what my experience would be like as a user of garden finance.
Sure. So in garden finance, you can actually, let's say, like you have Bitcoin in your wallet, right? Or you have most of the people will have Bitcoin in their centralized exchanges or
Hmm.
hardware wallet. Like these are the three places you can have, right? Like plugin, centralized exchange, hardware wallet. So you have your Bitcoin and you want to do something with it, right? Like you either want to, let's say, earn yield. Let's say you want to earn, let's say you want to sell it to USDC, or you want to, let's say, take a stable coin based loan. These are the things you might want to do. And you still want to like hold custody of your assets. You do not want to like give custody to like even a decentralized system, right? Like you want to hold like pure Bitcoin like with you. So the idea is that like, like how can we ensure that, like for the maximum amount of time the user can actually just hold their Bitcoin, and only when they actually want to do something they actually like give, use their Bitcoin and they get the other asset. There is like no point in time where we want like people to like lose access to their like Bitcoin and say that, like this is like protected by some decentralized protocol, centralized protocol or anything. It is in your hardware wallet, it is in your like software wallet, it is in your like 100% control until unless you want to use it. So when you actually want to use it, you can come to our like garden as a website and you can say that, like I want to like sell my BTC to, let's say, like USDC.
Hmm.
And we actually like find like an atomic swapping partner, like which is like which is a solver that would be like running 24 hours on like a backend server somewhere, that would actually like give you like keeps throwing prices in. It says that, like one BTC is worth like this amount of USDC, and like we are trying to make sure that like this pricing is like best in class. It is already really good when you compare to like any other like decentralized exchanges, it is almost like as good as WBTC to USDC trading on Uniswap interface. So it's like RBTC to USDC pair is competitive with WBTC to USDC on Uniswap, which is considered the gold standard of like Web3 like text trading. Um, so you go to our website, you say that I want to trade one BTC to USDC, and like and you get a price, and you say yes to that price. Once you say yes, like we actually create like a HTLC contract, which is a contract that allows you like to do a swap without losing control. So you actually transfer money to it, and the other person transfers money to a HTLC contract on like whichever chain you want USDC on, and they will transfer it, and like you can go redeem on that other chain, and you get like your USDC. Let's
Mm.
say no one actually transferred on the other chain, right? Then your like funds get like refunded back to you within 24 hours. That's how the actual like Bitcoin like script works. It ensures that like only if like the other person gives you like funds on a different blockchain, you would actually like these funds get released. And if the other person does not like fulfill their side of the deal, then you will get your Bitcoin. So it's like fully trustless. It's like fully like powered by Bitcoin's like base layer for like security. And yeah, that's how like a swap works.
And in that case where the counterparty doesn't fulfill, you all you lose is the transaction cost in that case. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah. So you would lose like I think yeah few cents.
How does bridging work? Um, yeah, how does that work? And is Citrea part of the stack?
Sorry.
How does bridging work? If I
So
wanted to, yeah, maybe explain I have BTC, but I want to buy USDC on another chain. How does that
uh,
work?
so that's what I explained just now. So this is
Mhm.
how like a cross-chain swap works. Like so, this is how
Cross
a
chain.
bridged swap works. So like you can actually go from Bitcoin to USDC on a different chain, or like two assets on the same chain. The flow is always same. So we actually built this like HTLC contract that is symmetric across all chains. So like any kind of like interchain or like same chain transactions like use the same exact.
Hmm.
So which is like the beauty of the whole system that actually makes like this whole system like very lego playable. So whenever I add like a new chain, let's say I add like dogecoin in future, then like
Hmm.
dogecoin gets access to like every other chain I already set, because
I
like
see.
everything uses the exact same spec contract on each chain, and this spec is like so simple that you can deploy it on bitcoin, so you can literally deploy it on any chain, like now or like upcoming, like it's like fully like forwards and backwards compatible.
Yeah. And you guys built this. This isn't an existing bridge that you guys
So
integrated.
So this like concept of HTLCs has existed in the past. Like in 2014, I think there was like a research paper explaining like how HTLCs work. But one of the biggest drawbacks was like the user experience, like of like using HTLC. It was like very bad. We actually tried to implement like HTLC based bridge back in 2018 as well during our REN days. But like the existing like technology and existing solutions were not good enough to actually provide a very good experience for our users. But things have changed, like with the advent of like CowSwap and like OneInch with their like solver markets and Uniswap X. The expected experience of a user actually has evolved, and also like the infrastructure that is available for us to actually build better user experience has also been possible since the last 2 years. So we kind of like brought back this like technology that was invented like almost like 10 years back, and we kind of made it like fast, smooth, and
Hmm.
like very like user friendly.
No, that's very exciting that, crypto infrastructure has caught up and now the user experience is better now. Tell us
Yes.
about the DeFi space. It's very crowded. And
Mhm.
um, even though there's not a lot of BTC Fi is quite new, but there's some big
Mhm.
players in the space. But DeFi in general is very crowded. Lots of it's easy to create a DEX these days, especially on the EVM side. Um,
Yeah.
how does Garden Finance differentiate itself from in the larger category of DeFi?
Yeah, so I think like one thing about DeFi is that DeFi actually like just like grows on strings, like with each market like cycle. So usually when like everything is like bullish, like there are like so many new projects that get launched, and like whenever like there are like like bear markets, like 90% of the projects die because of funding, because of like like not good fundamentals, because of like 100 different reasons, right? And I kind of like strongly believe that like Uniswap is worth like multi-billion dollars today because it actually like survived like 3 cycles. It has existed, like it persisted through like 3 different cycles and made sure that like it existed. It provided like extremely high value to like its like core user base consistently, and consistently like innovated. So we believe that's the case for like Garden as well. We have like a very strong user base. Like we did like $1 billion in volume last year. We are
It's
like planning.
amazing.
We believe we would be doing like multiple $1 billion this year. Like we are on a good track for that. Like we are working with like some really good integrators. Like we want to like make sure that like we are integrated into most of the wallets as like the de facto option to actually convert your BTC to like other assets and stuff. And we are in like very close talks to like some of the top wallets. So we believe that like once we actually have these like integrations down, we believe that like we can become one of the fundamental like DeFi rail, where like people can actually use us to do like the like bridging across chains. On top of it, we want to ensure that like our system is 100% safe, like it is fully robust, and it is like 100% like uptime, all the good things, right? Like we want to ensure that like people can actually build critical applications on top of Garden and still be like very confident that like nothing bad will actually happen with Garden. So it's like this continuous like passion towards like building something like extremely like user friendly and like robust that actually like continues to exist as like a rail for the 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Hmm.
We believe that like this like like focus on like building like something like that is really fundamental and like very simple, right? Not that BTC to USDC bridging is like a crazy idea, right? It's not like some like eureka moment. It's just that like something that is like extremely simple but like executed like to like the best, right? Like you continuously like figure out like how do we actually make it better, how do we make like speed better, how do we make the user experience better, how do we make the price better like continuously and consistently. So we believe that just like focusing on that and like making sure that we actually like do better than ourselves in the past continuously would definitely make sure that Garden will continue to exist.
Yeah. Now the $1 billion worth of swapping from last year. Tell us how you reached those. How did those users and traders find out about Guard Finance?
So a lot of the initial users were like from our like earlier days because like people have used like REN protocol, people have used KeeperDAO in the past.
Hmm.
So we had already like a lot of confidence in us as like developers, like both from like investors and like trading firms and also like from like end users. Everyone knew us like from like our end days. Everyone knew the quality of like products that we built in the past. So it was like super easy for us to convince people to come try us out. But like again, right, like everything is not always like happy. Like initially we had like a lot of volume because like people knew us, like were excited about this like completely new product, and they started using it like a lot, to do like a lot of different things. And slowly like the excitement died off, like which was like there when we just launched the product, like which happens to every single Web3 project, right? When you launch something, everyone is excited, and like after like 3 to 6 months, like they will find something else that is like flashy.
Hmm.
But going through that like cycle of like going down, like when we did not have like a lot of volume going through our system, so we continuously try to like figure out like how can we get volume, like what can we do, like how can we find like a very small niche of like audience that we can target to make sure that these guys continuously use our system so that we expect at least have like some volume flowing through our system. So we kind of like figured out that like there are two target audience that were like still like sporadically using our system. One are these like extremely big players who want to do like like 10 BTC to like WBTC, 10 BTC to like USDC kind of like transfers. Like mainly between Bitcoin and like Wrapped Bitcoin was like the highest volume we actually saw. And there were like this other group of people who were like more trying to get onboarded onto like crypto. Like for example, they have like some Indian rupees or let's say US dollars that they want to actually convert into Bitcoin, but like most of the on ramps back then did not actually like support Bitcoin as an asset. Usually they supported all the EVM assets, but they never supported Bitcoin. But like Bitcoin is the most famous asset, right? Like for a normal user. So we kind of like figured out these are the two niches we should like target and like focus our efforts on like currently to get like our like initial like volume going through our system. Then we can actually expand more and like try to like target like a bigger audience. So we kind of stopped down. We started like talking to like a lot of market makers, like a lot of people who are like running like family offices and all these guys, figuring out like what their like DeFi needs are, like how we can actually fit Garden into their system and all this stuff. And we actually like talked to enough people that like we started like seeing this sporadic like 10 BTC transfers, like 5 BTC transfers through our system, which was like very good volume for us because like every 5 Bitcoin trade is like 500K, right? Like it's like a high value ticket item. And then like the second thing was like we started like working with like a few on ramps that wanted to support Bitcoin, and like we actually like provided like a very good SDK for them. They integrated us, and we started seeing like a lot of like very small transactions. And that's where we currently are. Like we are in a place where like we have like good volume going through our system. There are like very big trades that happen. There are like a lot of small trades that are happening, and like with our new partnerships that we're doing with like Citria, Starknet, and all these guys, and we are getting like more and more like traction, and like more people start like knowing about us, and like they compare our prices with like other competitors in the space, and they find that like we offer like a faster trade at like a better cost than our competition. So this allowed us to actually like start getting like more and more users into our system. So we believe that, you know, like just like continuously like pushing it like forward, making sure our like prices are right, our speed is good, will get us like more and more traders. Like we are at a point where we believe that we can do like more than $2 billion in volume this year. So now we are trying to figure out like how can we get to 4, how can we get to 8, and all these like quotes like start like popping up. So
I think that's
that's where we are.
amazing. The I think the effort you put into talking to customers is something that a lot of projects don't do. What I guess what led you to start to do that? What I guess what made you think that that would be helpful to you as a builder?
So yeah, like me and my co-founder, we're not kind of like think as like Web3 founders. We kind of are like more like Web2 founders, ish, like where we kind of like believe that, you know, we should like build revenue streams. We should be profitable. We should like make
Yeah.
sure that we make enough money to like pay all our employees, so that they don't have to like, you know, like be anxious and like always looking out for like a new opportunity. Like we want to like make sure that, you know, like we actually create like a very safe environment for people to work, and also like we are not at the risk of like, you know, like not raising enough capital and we just like have to close our company down. We want to make sure that like we can actually run our company perpetually, like by actually like creating revenue. And we have done that. Like we made like $3 million in like profit last year, like through our like equity partners and stuff. So which is like a very good number for us, like, and like we believe that it is going to grow like from this year onwards.
That's
So
amazing.
yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean like when we have to like build profitability, right? Like you can't just like do like these crazy like airdrops. You can't just like do just like whatever, like, you know, like all this create like a lot of like splash by spending a lot of money and all these things. So we have to like go back to fundamentals. We have to say that, you know, like how can we get users? Like where are our users? Like who are our users? Like first identify our user. Like who is this like one person in this whole planet who would actually be benefited by actually using our product? And then we started like figuring out who that guy is, and then we started like reaching out to people who have like similar profiles. We started asking them questions, you know, like this is when like FTX happened, right? We started asking these questions like, are you, you know, like are you feeling safe like holding like your funds in like a centralized exchange? Why do you not like, you know, just like keep a lot of your funds on like a on your own wallet? Like, you know, like why do you keep your funds leave your funds in a centralized exchange? A lot of people say that, you know, we want to like trade immediately, instantly, when like something happens, we know about something. So like we say that, you know, like you could do the same thing using our system. You just like hold your funds, like instantly go to our system. Within like 10 minutes, you actually get your USDC. Boom, like you can just like swap it to like whatever else.
Hmm.
And like not everyone like who actually says that this is your problem, or even if you convince them, goes up using it, right? But like if you keep doing these calls enough, like you actually like start like figuring out parallels between like a lot of people's problem statements. You just like see like commonality between their like issues, right, that they're facing on a day-to-day basis. And like then you can actually figure out like, you know, like how do I like create a solution that actually solves all their problems, or like 80% of their problems, because like everyone has like 100 different problems, right? You cannot solve all their problems. You can solve like anything that your product can actually solve, or like that you are good at solving. So yeah, it was
Well,
like a con.
no, I like the approach that you take in identifying who the target customer is. What most marketing people do is they identify kind of the personas, right? It could be maybe two or three different kind of groups of people or personas. You take the other approach, like who is the one person on the planet that would use our product, and then you expand from there. I think that's a very, very good approach because it forces you to think who the actual user is going to be, and then growing from there versus the other approach of looking at the target personas, which kind of still is very abstract. You take it very concrete. And I think that approach works really well. And I'm going to take that approach next time. So I learned that from you today. So I appreciate you sharing that.
We actually have
No, go.
Yeah, so we actually have this like our company Bible. There is this book called One Thing. So it just like talks about like how you actually have to like think about every day you wake up. There is only like one thing that you have to do at any point in time that makes everything else that you have to do like irrelevant or like very easy to finish. So we kind of like take that approach like too hard. Like everyone in our company just like gets that book when they join our company, and we make them forcefully read it. Because like I think it is extremely important for a startup which is like small and it's like cash strapped to actually have like absolute laser focus. Like if you don't focus, then you would actually build like 100 different things that like no one actually cares about.
Yeah,
Only if you can actually like spend all your resources, all your energy, all your hard work into like one single thing, only then you can succeed. So it kind of like translates into everything we do. We do not try to, we never like try to abstract things out. We say that we do not say that, this is a market that we want to target. We always say, like, who is this person? Like, who is this person I'm targeting? Who is this exact individual I want to talk to? And then we talk to 100 different people at like conferences, like, like we set up like calls, we do like a lot of like research before we actually decide that yes, this is what we want to do. And once we make a decision, we just like get the whole team to completely focus on that single vision and actually like get it executed.
I
So
love that.
yeah, that
I love that. The book that the One Thing book.
yeah.
As a team, as the founding team, I imagine it was the founding team that created that. What sources of inspiration did you have to build that book?
Oh no, no. So we actually did not write it. We actually like found that book. Like it's
Oh,
like written by someone else.
okay, got
So
it, got
we
it.
just like, yeah, it was like one of the early books I read in my life, and which kind of like dictated a lot of like my early choices in my life as well. And it kind of like slowly became the Bible of our company. It's not, yeah,
Got it.
yes, yeah.
Okay, and it's called the One Thing.
It's called the One Thing. Yeah, I'll send
Okay,
you a link.
okay. No, that's really. I haven't read it.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to. I think that's really
highly
great.
recommended. Highly
Yeah,
recommended.
we'll put that in the show notes for sure. And for a startup founder, I mean, you need that focus, and
Definitely.
that the fact that you are, you have all the team members read that, it just helps the team overall.
Yes.
That's awesome. Now, looking to the rest of 2025, what are some of the, I guess actually before we get there, tell us about the community. One really important part of very important part of crypto projects is the community. And I think Garden Finance is interesting because you actually have users, like people that actually use Garden Finance. For some crypto projects, there's primarily retail people that own the token, but there is no product yet. Or the product is not, it's maybe a layer one that normal people wouldn't use, but applications would use or developers. And so Garden Finance, I imagine, has some of your users are actual users, traders. Some are probably not traders, but they just want to be part of the community. Maybe tell us about the types of things people can be involved with if you're not a trader.
Yeah. So yeah, like I think, yeah, we do definitely have like those two groups of people. Like I think we do have like a lot of like traders who actually use our product consistently, give us like consistent feedback where they just like post like screenshots, like ask for like ideas. And some people even like who drop like Figma, like like ideas, like when they say that, hey guys, like let's create like this feature. That's like a very like nice like thriving community, I would say. I would say like a lot of our people are actually now I'm thinking about it. I do believe that like 90% might just be like users. Like there is like a very small percentage of people who are like non-users and still community members in our system, because we actually launched our product and actually created like our community after like launching a product, instead of like a lot of people when they actually like build like a community, hype it up, and then launch product. We actually like had a product working like before we actually launched our community. So I would say
which
like most
is
of our like, yeah,
which
people
is
are,
amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It,
I like, yeah, go
yeah, no, you're exactly right. I mean, if you look at a lot of test nets right now,
on.
the users of these test nets are not going to be users of the product. They're
Yeah,
primarily, point farmers.
yeah,
And so, but it's also important, right? Because you do want to
yeah,
create some level of hype. and
Yeah.
level of interest and mind share. But converting testnet users to actual product users is a big challenge because not everybody is going to be a product user. But what's interesting about Garden is you guys had a working product, and that's really unusual. Plus, you guys are making revenue, and you're actually have fundamentals, which is
Yes.
not most crypto projects. Which is, I think, return to fundamentals is going to be the big focus for the next few years, and I'm really happy about that.
Yeah. I understand you that. Like, I do not think like the way that the space is evolving, right? Like, I mean, has to stop, right? At some point, like we would have like some like very bad event that would happen, and like people will just like start realizing on like what they are doing. Because right, like as a market, right, we are almost like 80 to 90 in a place where like 80 to 90% of all the funds are just like invested in private companies, and everyone actually thinks ICO as like exit point, right? No one actually like really invests in projects that are like post ICO. Like everyone just like just like exists when like ICO hits and like the token just like drops from there. Like everything dies. Like like the product like dies. Like everyone is just like kind of like going for this like ICO event, and like everyone just like dumps everything after. So that is not like a very great place to be as a company or like as founders, because people might believe that they can actually make a lot of money by doing this thing, but over like long term, right? Like you are not building anything, you are not creating value. So any kind of amount of money you make is kind of made by luck, and it's like same as like gambling or same as like buying a lottery ticket, right? There is no fundamental like value you built as a founder yourself, right? Like you did not experience how to like build like a strong business. Like until unless you do that, like it cannot actually be worth a lot of like value in the future, because like only when you actually go through this like journey of like a startup where you're starting at zero and trying to like build like solve problems with like not without spending money, and just like continuously doing it like for long enough, you just like learn so many like extremely valuable lessons, and then you can actually like build like strong businesses going into the future as well. So this like short term mindset of just like launch an ICO exit is not like something that is gonna help like this space evolve into the future. And I do
Mhm.
believe that like investors and like VC firms could actually like start doing like more, like invest in teams that are actually consistently building for like longer terms instead of just like pouring all their money into like pre-ICO like companies. Because right,
Yeah,
like I mean, they haven't like figured out BMF yet. They haven't figured out like anything at that point. Like why are you like investing like billions of dollars into it? It's crazy, but
yeah.
that's where the space is.
The I mean, I learned a lot from you today. I mean, focus on the one person that will be using your product. I think that's such a good approach. Um, and you guys have product market fit. You actually have users using Garden Finance. You guys have revenue. It's so refreshing to hear this from a crypto project. Um, Tell us about like the next for the rest of 2025. What are some of the goals that you have that you can share, and maybe how the audience can get involved?
Yeah. So I think like two main areas of like development that we want to focus on this year, uh, adding like a lot more chains to our system. So like we want to add and support like all chains that like people want to use, and we want to also like enable like almost the lowest price like movement like of value possible. So for that, we need to like improve our like solver infrastructure. We currently have one solver who is like doing like most of our solving, and like there are like some few others that we are like in talks with who want to like launch their own solvers in our network, so that like our price actually becomes better. Like in a competitive market, you can ensure like the price is continuously like improving. So those are like I would say like two big items that we want to like tackle this year. Just like making our system like super cost efficient and like getting like the prices as low as possible. The second thing being adding more chains. And the third thing I would say is like getting it integrated into like all the wallets where like people already have their funds. We do not want to change people's like current like workflows. We want to like kind of get become part of them like without the user actually like noticing it, because
Mhm.
we want to make sure that like at the end of the day, right, like we are actually serving our users. Like we want the user to actually have the best experience possible, which is only possible by actually making them take as many less steps as possible. If you have a wallet and you want to swap inside the wallet, garden is there. If you have like if you are in on a centralized exchange and you want to like do a trade, maybe we can just like become like super easy and like super accessible to you, and all these things. We want to like consistently make a user's like workflow as simple, as straight, as easy as possible. Currently we are on the chain side of things, we are like targeted into like the Solana ecosystem. Like we want to like launch on Solana soon, and then we want to launch on Sui. Recently we just finished like Starknet, and I think like a few months back we did launch on Citria. And like once Citria hits their mainnet, we'll be like live on their day one. uh, so we are like very open about like blockchains. We do not actually play like maximalism on like this ecosystem or that ecosystem. We want to ensure that like all these like blockchains that like launch have like a fair chance in the market, where like there are like strong infrastructure rates for them for like the value just like more. So yeah, like so for us like the main thing is like more assets, more chains, and like more liquidity, so that the prices are really good throughout this year.
So supporting additional chains, business development, integrations with wallets, making it easier for the users, fewer steps, fewer uh, fewer things to. What do I want to say? Fewer steps, just less hassle for the user, and really just a return to fundamentals. That's kind of the key things that I learned today, and I hope the audience, listens closely to this interview. I mean, Garden Finance is one of those quiet projects that's adding value, and
Yeah.
I appreciate you being on this podcast, Susruth, and I hope that we help bring more awareness to Garden Finance and users.
Thanks. Yeah. Great.
Awesome, thank you.